During the late 1940s and 1950s, before the current styrene scale models were common, there were less choices of models to build and more choices of aircraft to build models of. World War II had just ended, and there were lots of World War II aircraft just begging to be modeled. It was an era of rapid growth in aviation, and both military and commercial aircraft were multiplying. Also, it was a time when general aviation was thought to be booming, resulting in many more light planes to be modeled. But makers of scale models, mostly wood scale, were many fewer than currently exist, and models were produced at a much lower rate. So if you saw an aircraft you really wanted a model of, but no kit existed, what did you do? Well, there were publications, aviation magazines, model magazines, and just general interest magazines that routinely published 3-view drawings of the latest model of the aircraft they were trying to sell, or the unique aircraft that no one knew about, or the latest military aircraft. You could actually take these drawings out of the magazines, scale them up or down to whatever size you wanted to build, and just build one from scratch using balsa wood or scrap lumber. Let's build a Piper Cherokee 140 in 1/32 scale to go with my other 1/32 scale light planes. Here are the plans.
Here we have our big block of balsa wood with the 2 cutouts from the plans glued to the surface. And I'm going to bandsaw it out because I have a bandsaw. When I was a kid, I used to use a saw like this. Believe it or not, it is balsa wood, so it's not that hard. Or even before that, it was the dull pocket knife and the Busy Beaver approach. It doesn't have to be balsa wood. As a matter of fact, most of the carved out models I made as a kid were made from cutoffs of my dad's woodworking projects, either 2x4s or 3/4 inch stock, mostly pine. Here it is after the first cut. Now I'm going to tape the parts that I cut off back on so that they will hold the piece of stock vertical in axis for the other cut. Otherwise it would be skewed, bent, depending on how I tilted the model due to the curved surfaces on each side. Back to the bandsaw for the second direction cut. So here's the starting point for carving the fuselage.
So we're ready to start carving. I've marked out the center line and key points of the carving. From here to here, the side should be flat to fit the wing, and the cross section of the bottom should be the same for this entire distance. This line is the cowl line, and you can get from the plans another profile at that point.
Well, I've started shaping the fuselage. This is about all the carving I'm going to do with a knife, although most of what you see has been refined with sandpaper. One of the problems with carving balsa wood is it's so easy to carve off too much, and then you're in big trouble. So I'm going to do the rest of it with sandpaper and fine files. So we have our major parts cut out and the fuselage pretty much sanded to shape. So now we need to start finishing the wings and tail and assembly. Here are all the parts sanded to shape. Since the Cherokee is a fixed gear airplane and a tricycle gear, it probably will be a tail setter if I don't put some weight in the nose. In fact, I may not be able to put enough weight in the nose. So what I'm going to do is drill a hole where the propeller would be and enlarge it, put some BBs in, and then fill the hole. Well, it's ugly, but it's done. Now I'll fill it with BBs. Well, the components are all glued together. All the joints are butt joints, as would be typical if you were building the model yourself and didn't have access to routers or things like that to make machine joints. As a result, every joint is a little bit off, And it's almost impossible not to have it that way, but I claim it's close enough. So now we'll try and trim the filling damage and move on to painting. I've painted it with auto primer. The auto primer raises the grain and also stands up the balsa wood fuzz to be knocked off with the first sanding, and then we'll continue to auto prime it and sand it to fill the voids in the balsa wood and also some of the dents that I made. I'll wet sand it, otherwise the sandpaper loads up really fast with what's sanded off. And so it's as simple as that, I guess. So we've used just about an entire can of spray paint auto primer, put on multiple coats to try and completely eliminate the grain. Not totally successful, but close. Now we'll paint the cockpit area light blue to simulate the glazing. And then we'll mask over it when we paint the body color to try and shape the windows.
Spray painted the airplane with a rattle can.
We've painted the aircraft and we're starting on the wheels and the prop. So now it's time to see how successful or unsuccessful the masking job was. Seems pretty successful this time. Very few bad edges.
End up some landing gear from wire, and I have some cast wheels and a prop from other models that I've installed. So here's the finished aircraft.
So here the Piper Cherokee joins some of the fleet of 1/32 scale light planes. Thanks for watching.
If you like this movie, please consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching.